Well, good morning and welcome to the Building Podcast. Today, we're exploring the role of net zero leadership within UK construction, with the aim of understanding its role and its approach. The Construction Leadership Council is a government industry body that seeks to influence UK construction. Part of that influence is quite rightly around net zero. And I'm really pleased to be able to welcome Stuart Young to the Building Podcast to help us unpack all the issues around this. Stuart is the head of stakeholder engagement and management at the Government Department for Business and Trade. However, today, the piece of him we need is his role as the comms director for Construct Zero, a Construction Leadership Council, or CLC, initiative to help the industry drive down its carbon footprint. Stuart, we normally ask you to give a quick précis about your role and what you're up to. And clearly we want to focus on the CLC and the net zero. A little bit of background about what you'll do at the department, how big it is and what the wider role of the construction unit within the department is, I think would help many of our listeners understand how it interacts with the CLC.
Yeah, very happy to. So my role is I head up the stakeholder engagement and management within the Department for Business and Trades construction team. But also as part of my role is I oversee the relationship between the Construction Leadership Council and the department, and that includes providing support to the co-chair Mark Reynolds and the deputy co-chair Richard Robinson. And also another key part of my role, which is what we're here to talk about today, is as the communications director for the CLC's Construct Zero programme. The team really, the construction team within the department really acts as a sponsorship voice of the sector across government. So working with sort of some of the key departments that your colleagues will be aware of, for example, Treasury, Department, Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government, DESNID, and so on and so forth. So the team itself is around sort of 20, 25 people. And we are split across international and domestic, but the core construction side of the team is probably around sort of 10 people, all working on different pieces of work in terms of net zero, building safety, skills, next generation. That's the kind of the team, and obviously the department itself is a sort of the primary route through which government engages with businesses, and the CLC itself is our primary engagement route with the construction sector.
Brilliant. And so really, if it acts as the funnel for interaction for our industry within the wider government. So as you say, picking up all those other departments. And so people have an involvement or a need to communicate with government that, your department within the Department for Trade is the right place to go.
Yeah, so if people have got an issue or a concern about the construction sector, if it's regulatory side, they would go to MHCLG, Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government, who own that policy space. But in general, but outside of the kind of regulatory space, it would come through to our department, and we hold a lot of the kind of the relationships with the key organisations and the trade associations as well. And we work quite closely with them.
Yeah, I'm obviously a key department for an industry that's probably one of the largest in the UK. So
yes, and I think that's important to say to the listeners as well. It's one of the reasons why the construction sector, there's a lot of people working on it, is just because of the point you mentioned there, the fact that it contributes just under 9% of GDP annually. It employs millions of people, and also it's a really kind of key growth sector for the government. So there's a lot of kind of importance attached to it, and also the kind of the multiplier effect it has in housing, because it's simple, without the construction sector you're not going to build houses, prisons, schools and hospitals. So you need the construction sector to kind of meet other commitments across government.
Absolutely. Well, let's move on to the Construction Leadership Council, because that's the body, as you say, that's really the organ that sits between all government and the industry, and seeks to lead the industry. Do you want to just talk a bit about how the CLC functions and works with both industry and government?
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, so the CLC, it's a joint government sector council, and it's co-chaired by the Minister for Industry, Sarah Jones MP, and Mark Reynolds, who's the group chairman and CEO of MACE, with the deputy co-chair of Richard Robinson, who is the regional president UK and Europe at Atkins Realis. So the CLC itself is comprised predominantly of the CEOs from the main trade associations across the sector. So just an example, Build UK, Seeker, FMB, NFB, BMF, etc. So its role is to provide leadership to the sector, but working in partnership with government and industry. So as I said before, it's the department's primary engagement route with the sector. Its work is primarily focused on its four strategic priorities, which in no particular order are building safety, net zero and biodiversity, people and skills, and next generation delivery, the latter of which captures areas of work like payments, retentions, and digital. And there is also a kind of a supported set of work streams that are led more by industry, which includes housing and buildings and places. So it provides a forum through which the industry can engage directly with government, and the minister sits on the CLC board as well. So it's very much a partnership work between government and the sector.
Oh, brilliant. And Stuart, just briefly, I mean, how does the CLC sort of communicate its outputs? What should we be looking out for in the industry for the outputs of this work?
So there's a number of different communication outputs from the CLC. So we produce a bi-monthly newsletter, which goes very wide. And if you'd like, if you or your readers would like to get added to that, just drop the if you go on the CLC website, there's an email address where you can just register to be added to that list. We also do a sector call, which is roughly every sort of 6 weeks or so, and that's essentially a download of all the CLC has been doing over the previous 6 weeks, and that's open sector wide and often features updates from the relevant people with a kind of a following Q&A. I also communicate very regularly across the industry, well over 1,000 people, with kind of key policy and communication updates across the CLC. We have the traditional website, which we post, which almost daily updates go on there, and we also have social media channels through LinkedIn and Twitter as well. So there are various communication channels through which we post updates, seek kind of people to kind of join particular pieces of work, but also kind of provide other updates. So, for example, if the Home Office have sent across government material around visas, for example, that's relevant to the sector, we would also circulate that. So there's a very wide and regular drumbeat of communications that go to the sector.
Yeah, and crucial because this industry is changing rapidly, and informed leadership is really important to make sure we actually can make some of the correct decisions in the businesses that we're operating.
Yeah, and I think it's also important to say as well, Mark, that we do get a lot of good feedback from the communications that go to the industry. A lot of people sort of thank me and thank the team for the engagement. And so, for example, we utilise the trade associations to push out the messages to their members. So a number of them have got weekly or regular newsletters, and we would utilise those channels to push that message. So, just for examples, we're talking about today, Construct Zero. We recently recruited for our business champion program, and we utilised those newsletters to push that out and amplify that message.
Yeah, no, I'm well aware the NFB promotes those messages as well.
Yes.
Anyway, let's get on to sort of the meat of where we are today, and this is all about the Net Zero Champion program. Do you want to just talk a little bit about that, because it's one obviously close to my own heart. I think
Yes.
I'm still a Net Zero champion.
You are indeed.
And we do a lot of promotion, but it's useful. Let's hear from you as to what it's set up to do and what you hope to achieve with it.
So the Business Champion program is really about those companies who are delivering net zero on the ground. So they're actually actioning change, they're delivering change, they're leading change, and they're delivering tangible impacts in local communities. So it's your local builders, it's your local merchants, it's your local contractors, it's your local companies who are actually delivering those impacts locally. So the Business Champion program really provides a platform and a voice for those companies, which includes SMEs, to be able to promote their work to a greater audience, and it showcases their achievements. So it actually enables them to connect with their peers and learn from one another. So at the moment, we've got just over 130 champions and about 160 partners. So the purpose of that program is we also bring all those together, those business champions and partners together, for a quarterly forum, or which the NFB joins as well. And it enables a bit of joint discussion, a bit of shared learning, shared leadership. But it's really about taking this, what this is not a talking shop. This is about delivering change, promoting change, amplifying change. So it's really working with those companies on the ground to sort of understand how they've done the change, what barriers they've overcome, what the impacts of the change are, and just generally how they are leading it. And I think it's working very well, and we'll probably come on to that about some of the examples of the tangible change that we're seeing. And I'd also echo that although we recruit twice a year for business champions, we're already receiving interest from companies to join the next round of recruitment, which will be later next year.
Now, and one of the things that impresses me, Stuart, is that you have a large number of SMEs on the champions.
Yes.
And so do you want to just sort of talk about how you become a champion? If listeners are out there thinking that, well, I'm doing my bit for the environment, how do I, what are the standards I need to achieve to become a net zero champion?
So the process is very easy. So if you're listening today, drop me an email, registering your interest in becoming a business champion, and I will add you to our list for the next round of recruitment. TBC when that's going to be, but I suspect it will be around about April, May next year. At which point we will send you a light touch application form, and it's very light touch. And all you would need to do is to set out on that form, under the Construct 09 priorities, where you are on one of those and how you're getting to. So we are content to take companies regardless of the stage of the journey you're at. So you don't need to be the finished product, but as long as if you're at the start, you can evidence a plan of how you're going to get there. We would welcome your application. Companies of all sizes. So just drop me an email, and it's as simple as that. And then the applications are assessed by a program board, and then assuming that the program board are content that you're then put onto the program, and we provide you with the necessary support.
Brilliant. It's all around about. Sorry, Stuart, finish off.
The key thing I should have added there: it's all free. There is no. So that's one of the questions I get asked. So it's all free. There is no cost, and there's no mandatory level of participation. It's whatever works best for the company concerned.
Yeah, it's all about promoting change in behaviour, isn't it? That's
yes.
The bit that attracts me to it. It's all about changing people's behaviour and demonstrating best practice.
Exactly, mate. It's all about behaviour change, educating, raising awareness, and getting the sector to change the dial and shift a bit of the narrative. But yes.
Well, so that if that's sort of the mouthpiece and the sort of the leadership side, do you want to just talk around about how important it is that this industry, our industry, does reduce its carbon consumption, and the sort of targets that we're aiming for within the industry?
So the first thing to say is very important. So as we just touched on, this is about behavioural change across the entire sector. So the whole sector needs to come together and change. And just to give you an idea of why it's important for the construction sector to engage in this. So some of your readers may know, but the construction sector is collectively responsible for around 44% of UK emissions. That's a considerable number. So without the entire sector, we will not hit the targets. So we really need to get the construction sector on board. And what we're seeing through Construct Zero is a lot of the companies wanting to come on board, but clearly there is more to do. Without the kind of the companies engaging, we won't become more sustainable. We won't be able to deliver more sustainable projects and products and materials. So it's crucial that the sector needs to come together. What I would say is I've been involved in the programme since its concept launch just before COP26. I've seen a real kind of shift in behaviours, whereas now companies are very keen to come on board. They're not questioning why they should do it. They're actually reaching out to us, to myself, and asking to come on board. And I've even had an email this morning from another company asking to come on board. I get them daily. So I think it's crucial. I think the sector is starting to are seeing the value. But again, it's about education, raising awareness that we are here as a programme and that we're here for the sector, and come on board and kind of join this free industry initiative.
And Stuart, it's all about, so the industry influences 44% of carbon emissions in the UK. I think it's important to say, isn't it, that we're looking not only at reducing the carbon embodied in what we deliver to our clients and the ultimate client, but also we need to reduce the carbon that our businesses consume in their operations. So
yes,
it is both a sort of product requirement or a service requirement, as well as our own businesses need to reduce. And that's part of we've got that dual focus within this Construction Leadership Council.
Very much so. And that kind of touches on the other side of the programme, which is the business partners, who are more kind of where they are encouraging their membership or their supply chain to transition to net zero. So taking a more of a kind of that higher up view. So we've got a number of kind of companies involved in the program as partners. And it's actually interesting that many of them are above and beyond just the construction sector. So seeing that wider amplification and link. So there are a number of priorities in the program which apply beyond just the construction sector. So if you think about how you design products, how you use digital to drive forward efficiency. So we've got companies such as the Earthshot Prize, HS2, CBI, PwC, NatWest, Heathrow, Transport for London, and many others involved. So there's a real narrative coming together on this.
I think it's really exciting because, as you say, there's a huge amount to do, and getting that done by consensus and by change, positive change is really important.
Very much so.
So Stuart, we've got a net zero target for 2050. Do we have any targets for the construction industry to get us there?
Well, the targets that for the construction sector we've set out are in the metrics for the Construct Zero performance framework, which your readers, it's on our website. And those kind of 31 metrics are evolving. If you kind of look at those metrics, they give a general kind of sense of where the sector is at, both in terms of progress that we're making and where more needs to be done, and that could be via industry or government or other parties. So it's a general kind of stock take of where we are, but I think it's important to say that the metrics evolve. We've always been quite open that if there are better ways of measuring certain metrics, we're always looking at it. And clearly, with the forthcoming publication of the CCC's next carbon budget report, which is due out in February next year, we'll be looking at that report and doing some policy work to sort of make sure that our work is aligned with that to kind of maintain that progress update.
Brilliant. And so for listeners, here we are in November. I ought to just say that next year is 2025, so that
Yes.
those that pick it up next year don't think we're on the never. Just moving on then, one of the questions which I suppose we ought to just address, carbon is only one part of a much broader sustainable agenda. We've talked today so far about carbon. Do we worry about sustainability in the Leadership Council at all on the wider basis, or are we focused on the net zero carbon, which is obviously the one statutory duty we have?
Well, we look at sustainability. We look at it in the round. So we look at kind of what companies are doing from a Construct Zero perspective. We certainly look at the sustainability piece, and also I'm having kind of conversations with other kind of more sort of companies across the wider beyond the construction sector, and looking at what they might be doing in the sustainability space and how they might be able to engage with Construct Zero. So we are certainly looking at the sustainability piece and its links to net zero and how we can bring it in. So that's a very long way of saying yes, we are.
No, that's good. I mean, we've talked with other interviewees on the Building Podcast about the circular economy and the need to be changing a lot of the products, both within the tools we use, but also within the products we install in buildings to be able to be reused and upcycled if we're going to keep the carbon out of the industry. And clearly that's an important part of the wider sustainability agenda. But it's obviously a longer lead-in problem, isn't it?
It's a longer leading issue, and I think we also are looking at there's some more wider work going on around circular economy, and we are looking at, and obviously that features amongst the Construct Zero priority. So that is a piece of work that we're looking at and probably will evolve over time.
Well, let's move on and have some few tangible examples of sort of some of the successes of the program, the Net Zero Champions program that you've seen. Could you give examples of how the program's actually making a positive impact? We talk about delivery.
Yep. Yes, that's a really good question. So I can give you a sort of probably three examples. So if we start off first of all with the Canary Wharf Group. So they've engaged with their supply chain to save 498 tonnes of CO2 emission in the manufacturing use of steel sheet piling in their lower carbon alternative traditional sheet piles. So basically that equates to a 71.5% reduction in CO2 using 100% recycled material manufactured, which has been using 100% renewable electricity compared to traditional coal-formed steel sheet piles. So that's a considerable saving. I think I probably would pick up two more kind of live examples. So the first one will be the Environment Agency. So together with Jackson Civil Engineering, they have trialled the latest cement binders on a flood water storage facility at Loudon Reservoir, Nottinghamshire. So they have been using the binders with in situ soil to make low carbon retention walls, which has created a low carbon mix that's had a 6 times lower carbon footprint than their usual mix. So really driving delivery locally. And I think that the final example, and there'll be many others across the program, is Keltbray, and they have utilised flywall innovations with a punch flybrid flywall system. It's a bit of a mouthful, to use less energy in their building hoist for a demolition job for Milton Keynes Council. So just to give you some stats on that, on a 17-week demolition job, their diesel consumption was reduced by over 4,000 litres. They saved over £4,000, but crucially, they presented 12,000 kilograms of carbon from entering the atmosphere. So that's three examples just to hand from three of our kind of companies across the 250. There will be many others, some of whom we have and will continue to hear from through the Construct Zero forum that I touched on earlier, that we would amplify through the various communications routes and the Construct Zero reports. So if I would say that if companies who are listening to your companies who are listening to this today are doing work in the local communities but want to promote it, want to get involved, want to be part of those reports, drop me a line. Let's work with you.
Brilliant. So, Stuart, I mean, there's lots of things to be really proud about those sort of examples. I mean, one is that it really demonstrates how granular the program gets down to. It's promoting real benefits or real reductions in carbon at a granular level. You talk about sheet piling and how that's been produced by zero carbon energy. It's great to see that actually that is, as you say, it's all about delivery. The other thing I really like about this is it demonstrates that the ability to think and to bring people in at all levels to make a difference. You'll have had technical marketing, you'll have people on the ground doing it, you'll have all sorts of people across the whole spectrum that we employ within the industry, all of whom are contributing to those examples you've just given. Do you find that the best, they need to be led by the board of directors in each company, or are they led by clients, or are they led by sort of groundswell of people saying this is what we ought to be doing? Where do you see the biggest bang for the buck?
It really depends. There's no kind of real kind of one common sort of almost like silver bullet. If you get the analogy, it's really a combination. I mean, a lot of the kind of engagement we have with the companies, it tends to be at a senior level, but also on some of the on the application, which your members would see, is that we ask for an emerging leader, like a young professional. That's not mandatory, but we ask for it. So it can be a combination of kind of sort of senior leaders across the business. It can be younger professionals in the business. It's really a combination. But ultimately, we don't have a prescriptive model. It's what works best for the company themselves.
Brilliant. And that getting that promotion is key, isn't it? And I think that's really why coming back to the Net Zero program is giving champions that visibility. And giving them effectively the authority to make a change is really important.
And I think that one thing we found, and we do through multiple routes, to a certain extent we can reach some of the times what you would bracket as the more awareness, the more educated companies who are kind of more aware of what we're already doing. Some of the challenges is around kind of reaching those who we need to bring in, we sometimes can't reach. So we rely upon kind of contacts, trade associations and other people, but always happy to kind of consider new routes and really kind of get this message out there to the sector.
Brilliant. Well, building on that then, Stuart, one of the challenges I think the CLC has is it's often perceived as a big industry organisation where big business can talk to government. We've already talked about the Net Zero program that you look after as having plenty of SMEs in it, which is fabulous. How should the wider industry sort of influence and inform the work the CLC carries out, and particularly around this net zero topic?
So I think first of all, it's important to say that the CLC works for the entire sector.
Yeah.
So for each of its work streams that we've touched on, there are a series of working groups which are open to the sector to join. There is no kind of barrier to joining. If you're interested in a particular working group on our website, all you need to do is just contact our CLC public email account, which is listed on the CLC's website. So we're open for business, so to speak. We want your engagement, is what the headline kind of message here is. On Construct Zero, as I've mentioned before, we would welcome your engagement. So if you're listening today, you're delivering change on the ground in net zero, please drop me a line. We'll bring you into the business change program. We'll invite you on to the next round of recruitment. If you're listening today, but you're more kind of in a role of encouraging your membership or supply chain to transition, so you're not so much delivering the change, but you're more overseeing it, again, please drop me a line, because you may be more appropriate for a partner. Again, we would welcome your engagement. But I think the main headline, Mark, to say is that the CLC works the entire sector. We've got multiple work streams, some of which are more led by industry. If anyone listening today wants to get involved, the details of the work streams on our website. Have a look, see what you think. If you want to get involved, drop us a line, and we'll put you in touch with the relevant work stream leads.
Brilliant. And then clearly that's the role of this podcast as well, as we're trying to get to those hard to reach people who are too busy delivering these projects than getting involved in industry bodies and to affect change. So again, thank you for joining today. Let me ask sort of the final question. We had a good canter through the program, but this is this was going to get promoted by the National Federation of Builders. It's going to get promoted by Constructing Excellence here in the Midlands. What would you like to ask sort of those members of those organisations that are clearly that scattered around the country, or as in terms of CE in the Midlands here or in the Midlands? What are the sort of the key questions or the key asks of those members?
So I think the key ask is come and join us. If you're listening today, you're working in the net zero space, you want to amplify what you're doing, you want to learn from others, you want to join a broader momentum change, which has gathered considerable pace, get involved, come and join us, drop me a line, and utilise the opportunities we've got set out to showcase and promote your work. We're here. The programme is for the sector. It's been led by the sector. It's all free. It's a great opportunity. Lots of benefits to joining. Reach out to me, and let's have a conversation, and let's bring you on board.
Brilliant. And you're Stuart. We can find you on LinkedIn, can we? If we look up for Stuart Young.
You can find me on LinkedIn.
We'll find you on LinkedIn if we can't find you anywhere else.
You'll find me on LinkedIn. I'm very active. I think my email address, because the various groups from me, is probably plastered over half the sector's websites. But you'll find me on LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn. So you can either drop me a PM on LinkedIn, reach out for connection requests, drop me an email here. I'm very accessible and always happy to have a conversation and to welcome new companies on board. But the offer is there. The engagement is there. If you're interested, come and join us.
Well, it's a huge challenge we have, and I think this, it's great to see government working with industry to make this happen and to try and find ways that we can promote net zero and actually deliver net zero on the ground. And it's a great program, and certainly we commend it to the listeners. Stuart, thank you very much for your time today. It's been a great canter through the net zero program. I'm sure you've enlightened some of our listeners to the role of government departments and the Construction Leadership Council. And I wish you every success with the net zero program. It's a crucial part in getting the industry to where it needs to be at net zero in 2050, which is only 25 years away.
Right, and thank you, Mark. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to come on today's podcast. If you've got any questions, do feel free to reach out to me.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much.